Cornelia, do you have anything pressing that you want to do?
Yes, I do. I want to go back to my father's study.
Okay.
And word scrolls, things that I found, want to put in the motto.
What was that?
That was honor, faith, dignity.
Oh.
No, Cornelia would remember.
They had the conversation 5 minutes ago. It's supposed to be 2 hours.
I said the words.
No. Faith, honor, dignity. Faith was in there, dignity was at the end. For sure. Friend.
I mean, what's it gonna do if you get it wrong? You can try.
What?
The wards have lethality to them.
Oh,
Get it wrong, get
rough. I know what it is.
Yeah, tell me.
Cornelia would remember.
Cornelia would remember. It was honor first. It was honor, faith, and dignity.
Thank you.
Emily's broken.
Emily is broke.
Okay.
It was hours ago that you heard it.
So you put in honor, you put in faith, you put in dignity.
Is that right, Rebecca?
Yeah, I believe so. I don't know as well as he knows.
Yes.
I'm just asking. I want to be sure. I don't want to force anything.
No, honors first.
You're gaslighting the players at this point.
Definitely first.
Have mercy.
Mercy is not
The
in
door
there.
opens.
Yay!
You didn't blow up half your house and yourselves. Congrats.
I told myself that I would remember.
Thank you for not exploding.
Emily's really.
I wrote it down just in case.
I was like, I'll remember that, and then hours passed. I'm like, uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
I remember.
There was something, there was honor.
Honor.
Death.
Dignity was definitely the one.
Honor
Was
was
it
first. Honor, faith, dignity,
Honor, faith, dignity.
which we have very little
Now
of.
that Duncan said that, I totally remember that time when my dad would say it all the time.
You mean that one time that he said it all the time?
Yeah.
No, all the time.
60% of the time he said it all the time.
Inside, among other stuff, and the other stuff is all labeled future plot.
Oh.
Because there's all the stuff, it's like either there's this pile of journals and nothing else, or there's a pile of journals and some apparently irrelevant future plot things. Your choice.
I'm very interested in these journals.
Okay, because I have no idea what else would be there per se after a lot of
But you might want to come up with something
But-
later.
Reserve the spot.
Yeah.
Something else
I mean,
important.
things I do. One thing I do know is that there is what you would recognize as a little ring box, and inside it there is a woman's wedding ring and a woman's engagement ring.
I'm assuming your mother's. I'm hoping it's your mother's.
It's my mother's. It looks like the ones in the picture.
Okay.
The pile of journals is about yay high, and if you're just doing a quick perusal, you can tell that it runs from it covers an era of about a decade or 12 years. That runs from when your father was attending King's College in Wand as a first year student, through as you go through them. The last one appears to be when you're probably about 3 or 4 years old. And for the sake of argument, I'm going to give you a sort more of an arc summary, because I didn't have time to write all of his journals out
For 12 years.
What?
for 12 years.
Laziness. What do we pay you for?
I know. It traces, what you find is a path, an arc of character, one of an 11-year-old boy who absolutely idolizes Pallant Knights and the High King and the realm, and is just, this is the best place ever. If he were an animal, he would be a dog. It is, yes.
My name is Doug.
And this is the best place ever. My favorite thing.
I have just met you, and I love you.
He is very, and you do find Duncan in the first book very soon. The two of them meet in the first year, going to classes, and they're friends. And you don't recognize somebody else that had been attending like magistry classes or hospitalar classes would go, oh, ooh, yeah, I remember that. Oh, I remember that. Ooh. And he's very worried about tests. Is absolutely convinced he's an idiot. But he also clearly works crazy hard, because this is, he wants to be a Pallant Knight. To be the Pallant Knights are the best, and so you have to work the hardest. And so it is the honor, faith, dignity. You probably even hit his record of what Duncan was talking about. But from his perspective, it was, oh, my two classmates were just going at it and it was totally messed up and they shouldn't have been doing that. And I just needed to remind them about honor, faith, and dignity. And it worked out.
Oh, honey, bless his heart.
And then it's in the third year, he starts writing about Duncan and Duncan's letters to someone. There's someone Duncan cares for a lot. And the way she's described, he's like, she sounds amazing, and all these wonderful things. And then there is a page that just starts with one word: Beatrice. And you find out that your father can write poetry. It's not good poetry. But there's pages of it. And doodles and drawings, and there's very clearly a period of time that your father's on drugs.
He's Twitter faded.
And from that point, he writes about Beatrice, and you have almost no mention of Duncan. And it comes to the end of the third year, and he's writing. It's very clear he's writing to Beatrice. She came to visit, and now he's writing to her, and he's getting letters from her. And you find letters from a 13-year-old girl writing to this young man who's training to be a Pallant Knight, and it seems very odd because she writes a lot. You're like saying it's a little disturbing.
Her handwriting is similar.
Yes, and her choice of words, and you feel like you're looking at it from the outside, and you're sort of wondering, is this a disease I could get? Because And it's clear in his journals that at the end he and Duncan are classmates. It's not that he has any ill will towards Duncan. It's just that he's more mature than Duncan is. And Duncan is much more is just misguided, and he'll find the right way when he grows up. And he goes off, and you just flip. As he becomes an apprentice palate knight, and he does very well, and he serves very well, and by an appropriate adventure that would make its own little storyline and thing we would play, he catches the eye of High King Julius Ardan-Armand. And the High King ends up sort of bringing him in, and he ends up becoming effectively the bodyguard to the High King of the realm. And it's amazing. And we're now, years have gone on at this point. And if you're rapidly, you're just like, oh, I'm skipping over this, I'm skipping over that. He marries Beatrice. And you'd think at a certain point that his life couldn't be brighter. And with Beatrice, his life is bright and wonderful. But when he talks about the High King, you get more of a, this can't be happening, this can't be happening, this can't be happening. Because he talks about the High King, he's the bodyguard of the High King, but there are times that the High King slips away from him. And he eventually traces him as far as the High King has a consistent tendency of heading into East Side. As you get to the last, it's like an impossible thing. It's like he's looking at a cancer inside a perfectly healthy body. And so it comes to the hardest decisions of his life. But he decides that he's going to go to the Century. And he figures out because this is the High King of the realm. Who is the realm? And he goes to the Century, and he picks men of honor and faith and dignity. And he presents to them the evidence. And they tell him to let it go. That there are bigger things, that the world is bigger and grayer and more important things are happening. And Julius is critical. And the language of his journals gets much more terse. And at a certain point, he just loses it on the Century. He is just like these 100 men elected to represent the people of the realm, to defend the covenant, to do all these things, and they're all traitors. Because defending the covenant means being faithful to the law, and they aren't doing it. They're the balance to the High King, and there is no balance. But then his daughter is born. And when he talks about you, like the 9 months leading up to your birth are, how the heck am I going to do this? What does this mean? Oh my goodness, this is upsetting everything. I know, I mean, kids were coming, obviously, but being a father, oh my goodness. And Pilot Night, you know, I'm the bodyguard to the High King, and so hospitalars come and they tell him he's having a little girl. He's like, what is this? What am I going to do this? And she's born, and he holds her, and his world changes. And it's like, at that moment, it's like, I didn't need to know whether or not I was going to be able to love her and care for her the way I needed to, until the moment I held her. And then I knew everything. I know what I needed. And he's got his job, and you can see as his job focus is, he's almost trying to compartmentalize much more, and he's focusing much more on his family, on his daughter, on his wife. And then, if I remember, and then there comes an entry when he simply says, he sent me to get a package. It was a little girl. And when I look at her, I saw Cornelia. The next line is 5 words. Julius Armand Ardern is dead. Last book starts with choosing a new High King. And as he talks about choosing the next High King, there's all sorts of, this guy's got to be able to stand against the century. He's got to be the right man. He's got to be a good man. He's got to be frantically searching. And the one thing he knows is he does not trust the century to choose the High King. And so he's desperately looking for someone that will never send him for that task again. And he settles on Tiberius. And he then uses every political maneuver he has and some straightforward threats. And Tiberius is High King.